Sales leaders can feel pressure as 2026 planning season ramps up. In this episode of Growth Department, Steve Levitt shares what it really takes to build and scale a winning sales org, from comp plans and hiring filters to culture and consistency. If you want a playbook on how to hit next year's targets without burning out your team, this conversation's packed with hard-won lessons you can use right away.
So in the sales side, if you're missing, if you're behind, you better know why, and you better find out, and you better get ahead of it. Open the conversation. Do not wait for your leadership team to say, here's your number for next year. It's important that we know what's going on and what is working and how do I need to shift my game.
Let's welcome Steve Levitt.
Howdy.
Trained me on a lot of things. He molded my mind, how to set up comp plans, how to be a better leader, all sorts of stuff when I was in a sales leadership role. So thank you for coming and sharing your knowledge with a bigger group here.
Thanks for having me, Chelsey.
What have you been up to?
Well, let me tell you, start with a story. I love stories.
Okay.
So I was working at a company and full-time as a chief revenue officer, large organization, and, realized that I needed to be doing something different and left. And when I went back to my coaching and consulting, an old client, not old, they're not old. I'm old. Who's old? Somebody's old. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Client I'd known for a very long time wanted to hire me as a fractional chief revenue officer. And I knew their P&L and I said, yeah, it doesn't make sense, but let me try and help you. And they said, would you be interested in helping us find a salesperson? And I said, I don't do that kind of work. And then I realized my wife has an executive search firm that she's been doing it for 25 years. And I said, if you'll watch me fumble my way through helping you find your great sales leader, I will do that. And they were down to do it. And I fell in love with this notion of helping people find jobs and helping companies recruit the right talent. And the light bulb went off for me when I realized, the thing that I enjoyed most about my time in sales leadership and the thing that really had such impact on my teams was bringing in the right people. And so what I've been working on is recruiting and realizing that when I meet companies at this time where they're trying to grow, it's never just about recruiting and it's never just about sales. It's about some kind of mashup of that around, are we going to go do the right things and go to market? And are we going to hire the right people? And how do we find them? And so I'm calling it, I'm an operator recruiter is the way I think about it. Former chief revenue officer who's done every job on a sales team, well and poorly, hired and fired for every one of those jobs. And today I'm just helping companies get through that growth phase with the combination of best action, best people.
That sounds like an absolute blast.
I'm having fun.
Yeah. Well, we're talking today about what sales orgs should be thinking about getting ready for next year. It's middle Q3 as we're taping this.
It is.
Is it ever too early to start thinking about next year?
I don't know. I think there seems to be the time warp seems to be accelerating, I think, but it's hard to believe it's August. No, it's never too late, especially since, both the planning cycles start happening in next month, hard to believe for next year. And the action really starts Q3, Q4, and then Q1. Certainly in the hiring space, we've always seen just a huge push end of year, beginning of year, right, for people and talent.
Are people hiring at the end of the year because they have budget left, or what's the reason you see that spike?
Yeah, I think that my experience in my career was that we went through the planning process in September, October, so that everything was ready and dialed in for Q1. And that's oftentimes when we'd say, okay, well, let's go ahead and open the job recs because it's going to take some time. And the mistake a lot of people make, a lot of companies make is like, great, we're going to open the job recs. There's a ton of people working out there right now. And what we're seeing is that some of the people, not everybody, but it's getting harder for hiring managers to find the great person in a mix of candidates. There's a lot of people available. A lot of them are great. A lot of them are expensive. A lot of them are not. And then you have this process of going it on your own as a hiring manager and as a company. And my God, they are just getting slaughtered with resumes and applications, all which are AI optimized for the job description, by the way. and just opening a job rec, 600 applications in the first hour, 2 hours. So knowing who the people are is getting harder. And a lot of this just gets caught by surprise. People just
Mhm.
like don't realize in some of the size companies I work with. So it's never too early. And I'm also seeing on the employment side, people that are working are being more selective and careful about the next move they make. So it's going to take longer than you think.
Mm.
And people are sticking around for quarter bonuses. People are sticking around for, let me see what's going to happen here for a month or two. And people are saying, I need a break. I'm going to switch jobs, but I need a break. So let me go. I'll take this job. I'm going to join you. You know, the companies want them. And by the way, if you don't ask, you're not going to know during the process. And if you're not going out and knowing that, hey, we need somebody to start January 1 and you're starting October, great. So no, and long answer to your short question is it's never too early to get started, right? On that process.
What are some of the things that a sales org should be doing right now to prep for next year?
Yeah. So praying to whoever you believe in. No, kidding. But you know, I do like to have a little bit of fun in what I do. There is just a lot of, well, maybe let me back up and say the context I think we're in now and how that's going to affect what people are doing. And I may be wrong, but it certainly feels like the amount of change and uncertainty at a macro level, both in the economy and, you know, the talent pool, everything else has just been very disruptive. And people, in my mind, have been sort of holding their breath, waiting, wait and see, and that you can't do that forever. So for the last year, it's been very quiet, a lot less hiring going on, and a lot fewer people making moves in certain sectors. There's other sectors where they're doing great and they can't hire fast enough. But I believe, and what we see in on the HR side of our business, we have an HR side and a sales side for the recruiting and consulting pieces. The HR side seems to be a leading indicator for what's happening in the economy. And we're finally starting to see things moving there here in Q3. When it stops, we know that's going to be a leading indicator for slowdown. When it starts, we know it's a leading indicator for activity. And so if I'm a sales team, I'm going to be pretty sure I know what my growth plan is for next year. And I need to start attacking the market. But I would give pause for a second, do some talent evaluation, really take a look at not just stack ranking performance and, hey, does this person do well or not, but why? Why is someone doing well? Why is someone not? Have we, as you know, when we work together, I always challenged my clients and my sales leaders to really understand, like, what do I owe my sales team? We all know what they owe us, but what do I owe them for good in order for them to do well? And have I provided it? And then, okay, have they done it? And how do I know? What metrics have I used? So I would take a beat and just understand, am I providing what the team needs? How do you know that? What do I need to start providing, stop providing, and continue providing in order for them to be successful? And if you think you have that down, great. Then I would start looking at, all right, I'm optimistic and I'd like to think next year will be good. I think it's going to be great. I'm trying to be optimistic here and will us towards a booming economy. I do believe that we can't stay in a bad economy forever. It just, having lived through many recessions in my career, there's a couple of things that I think are a differentiator that people do in down times that help. One of them is ignore it and just go on. Just keep picking it up, the phone. Just keep the activity level high. Just connect with the right people. During COVID, quick story. So during COVID, my team, the clients we were selling to were very busy. They did not need help with marketing. So that my team asked me, what should we be doing? And I said, well, if you can get them on the phone, just see how they're doing. Just see what they need, see how they are. Just check in, just show up and be there. And when things turned around, they remembered who called them. They remembered who checked in. And we had people that were really in bad shape. We were offering resources of help. So I would be doing that. I would be assessing my level of talent that I have on my team. And then I would think long and hard about what is missing and how do I add to the team next year to reach my growth number by hiring people that are above the average or above the top level of the team. And that's a hard thing to figure out. It's a hard thing to figure out when you're hiring salespeople because we're tricky to hire for. And really understand, well, what is the thing that those top performers do? What is it? Is it activity? Is it the way they do discovery? Is it just the people they know? Is it their network? And have a real clear picture of it so that you know what you need to do with your team and have a plan. You have a plan around the aspects of what is the, flywheel, if you will, in your business and how well you execute those things and where are we doing well, where are we not, and where do we need to improve? And then go assess your talent and then hire if you need to hire. A lot of people are not hiring, right? Or they're top grading, quite frankly. So top grading was really sort of started at GE as a way of like ABC players, removing C players, hiring more A players, so that the overall performance of the team is improves.
Lifted up year over year.
Yep, yep.
Two scenarios here. Say you're hitting it's September, October, and you're not going to hit your annual goal. It's
Mm.
like not even close. What are some things you should be thinking about going into the next year?
So it's September. You know you're going to miss. What are you going to do about next year? Well, I think that's such a broad question for every specific sales leader, right? Depending on the size of the company you're in and what the pressures are for growth. And everyone needs to grow. Like it's just that simple. Sales is always, we're seeing more activity on sales hiring than we are in almost any other position. So we know companies are pushing the pedal to the metal for growth, and sales hiring is an indicator of it. Maybe once or twice I was able to negotiate a smaller growth target for next year, but that required I really had my ducks in a row in terms of data and
Mhm.
data around not just the results, but how many opportunities we opened, how much activity we did, what our ratios were from, cold calling and email to meetings that's set and kept, and deal sizes and win rates and at bats, by rep and as a team. So having the data to eventually go to your leadership team, executive team, and saying, hey, this is what I think I can do. And here's why is a good start. You better have your homework ready. You got to speak the board language. You got to speak the CEO language as a sales leader, knowing full well there's expectation for growth. And then I would be trying to figure out if I'm able to successfully negotiate maybe a smaller growth number. Again, very independent of the industry you're in. If you're in an AI company, right? If you're in a cybersecurity company, which we do a lot of work in, those guys are growing at a 30, 50% clip or more. If you're at a services company, might not be growth or maybe shrinking. And of course, your department. So in the sales side, depending who you're selling to, right? If you're missing, if you're behind to your original question, you better know why. You better
Mhm.
know what the trends are, and you better find out, and you better get ahead of it and have open the conversation. Do not wait for your leadership team to say, here's your number for next year. Open the conversation right now and say, hey, I've been doing some thinking. This is what next year looks like. I'd like to have the conversation. Every board, every management company team is different. Some are like, that's great. Here's your number. Go figure it out. Right. So that brings us to step two, which is figure out how you're going to get to a growth number. Figure out what is working well in the business. What do you need to start, stop, continue? You and I've done a few start, stop, continue exercises. I find them productive. And maybe unpopular hot take, unpopular advice, talk to your top performers. I love talking to my sales team. You know this, and I encouraged you to do the same. What are they seeing? What do they need more of? I don't have all the answers as the sales leader, unfortunately. And it's important that we know what is going on, that we're spending time with on the front line with clients, with prospects, making calls if needed, and being in the meetings and doing ride alongs so that we know what's going on out there so that we can bring that back to the company. So that's the second step would be for me really figuring out what is going on and what is working and how do I need to shift my game. And I know that we are coming off of a period where there's a lot of people that are available on the market from companies that have downsized, right? Companies that let go some good people, but maybe also let go people that aren't performing as well. The really tricky part is to understand when hiring a salespeople that was someone doing the right thing in the wrong place and they're really good, or do they seem really good because they're good at telling a story, but they get on board and it's not what you expected, and that's tricky. So if you are going to grow the company, and if you are going to grow your team, really nail down what are the 4 or 5, I call them filters. I usually go 4 core filters with my clients of what is it that makes someone successful here, and their behaviors, their traits, their knowledge. And then of course we add compensation and culture fit to that equation for hiring. I also want to address something that I don't know. I'd love your take on this as someone who's been my client. In times where there's downward pressure on cost and if pressure on efficiency, a lot of people are saying we don't need to hire outside help here for this. We don't need to hire a consultant or a paid recruiter. We have an internal team. I don't want to add costs to what we're doing. My belief is that I know I can look at your business differently than you can from the inside because I couldn't see it when I was in there. And that little bit of advice can often make the difference in who you hire or what plan you make or what you choose to do or not do. So I think there's downward pressure to hire outside recruiting, hire consultants, hire third parties. But I know the impact I'm having with my clients is that I'm able to make more calls, connections to the right kind of people than some of the internal teams are. Or we'll even go in and work with the internal teams to say, all right, what are you doing? Let's divvy up this work differently than the way you're doing it down. I'll bring in my wife who knows HR really well. We'll look at what they're doing. We'll do like a month of consulting before we start a job description and a search. And we'll say, why don't we try this new thing? Right. And some people love it, some people hate it. But that's the thing that I would challenge people to think about is, am I going to be able to solve this alone? And yes, it's self-serving. I admit that. However, when I was in the role, I often just could not see it from being inside the business. And it was even harder to actually make that change. So I'm rambling here for a little bit, but that's what I would be doing to get ready.
For a lot of folks who come on and talk here are fractional. So they might have a
Yep.
full-time day job and they fractionally hop in, or their whole life is fractional. And I learned so much in an hour talking with them. I'm like, imagine if a company just took a chance
Yeah.
on these guys. They would get work done so much fucking faster with a
I,
fresh perspective.
right. Okay. So here's what's funny to me. And I've said this to you before. When I started consulting, it was shocking how much people listened to me. When I was an employee, they don't listen to me. And I'm like, this is great. You should really think about doing a handstand while you're making phone calls. And, oh, yeah, we'll try that. I'm like, wait, I was joking. Don't do that. But there's this other trend that there's a lot of people that are so experienced right now. And companies I'm seeing massive downward pressure on salary right now. Like I've placed some VP of sales recently that took pay that was a lot less than I thought it would be, 50 to 100 grand less.
Mm.
Even on base salary, and not to mention, the commission side. And so there's people out there that have been doing this for a minute and know what's up and are looking for the fractional work. I'm hearing from them that it's harder to find the fractional job and they're tired of the grind of constantly looking for new clients, which that's right. It's not easy. So there's a third option, which is a contract job. So our contract business is starting to really pick up around, hey, let's do a 3-month assignment to test this. So something I'm working on right now is we're going to staff a BDR, a business development cold caller. We're going to staff a manager / strategist, and we'll have a senior lead on the project for 3 months to go prove a concept about will this work in a new way, rather than doing what a lot of companies will do is they'll either just hire the consultant or the fractional to come up with the idea,
Uh-huh.
right? Let's do a shorter thing and do a short project and just get to result faster on a 3-month contract versus a fractional person for whatever period of time. I'm not saying don't hire fractional, but I'm saying it's not just full time or fractional. There's also this third solution around some contract employees on sales, hired gun type side. We're seeing a lot of interest in that right now because it's like a SWAT team or a Tiger team or whatever you want to call it. And people want to take a contract job that is maybe not full time.
Hmm.
I'm seeing the great resignation and where we are today with what's going on. There's a lot of smart talent out there doing contract or fractional work. And when I did a lot of fractional work, one thing I did realize was that it became really hard to manage the scope creep, right? Well, what does fraction mean?
Mhm.
And the second I got an internal email, it was over. You remember this? What was the one thing I told you I would not get?
Nope. Not an email.
No email address at your company was my rule for fractional because then I'm on Slack and then I'm in your calendaring system and then I'm at meetings about, things that are not the things I'm there to do, which is a good reminder for leaders
Mhm.
about what are you really spending your time on and whose job are you doing to save your own? And my advice would be to say, let's not do that. But anyway, you asked me about fractional. Yeah, it is incredible how much great resource there is out there right now for people that have solved the problem you have.
So if you haven't hit or you're not going to hit your numbers this year, don't be afraid to bring in one or two. Different people do different things. You would be hiring help and an operations help. We had one guy on, Bryant, who does comp plans and the tech behind comp plans. Like he goes in
Yeah.
and figures that out. So there are people who do very specific things that could help you figure out what's going to make us hit next year.
Yeah, I think that's right. There's also plenty of people that are just looking to help, right? Don't be surprised how much someone in your network, Chelsey, if you called me and said, "Hey, I need this help. Can you give me an hour of your time?" I would. And a lot of things, just reach out to the people that you know and just have the conversation first. And, again, I said this at the top. We're expected to have all the answers. We're expected to have all the knowledge in leadership roles. And the reality is we don't. Other people do. There's plenty of great resource out there. And, there's a lot of AI tools I've had really interesting reminders about what I need to do from AI tools like ChatGPT and others, and some of the agentic stuff that's getting really interesting around how do we start a conversation, how we hold a conversation with someone, right? That's more natural than just entering a prompt. Anyway, don't get me started there. But the amount of people that are available that have either chosen to leave the workforce or looking to work in a different way is a smart thing to do. To your point, yes, go ask for the help. And then I think on the fractional side, it can be, I oftentimes think that companies are hiring a fractional person because they want the whole person, but they don't want to pay them money and end up getting a lot more work out of a fractional person than the fractional person thinks they signed up for. And I'm speaking from experience, not from, this is what happened to me. So why not just define the scope, define the project, or maybe the other thing to think about is that maybe it's not a worker you need. Maybe you do need to work in sales positions where we got numbers to hit and we can only allocate certain quota. Yes. Maybe it's a coach. Maybe it's someone who just needs to bring me back into a space where, okay, what are my priorities again? Great. Keep me focused on help me keep focused on the things that I know I need to be doing every day. Because in the sales leadership job, there's a million things that will distract us, right? And bring it back to the core pillars of what you got to go do. So maybe it's a coach. Maybe it's someone that can help me come up with new ideas for a short period of time. And you probably know those people. So did I answer your question? I don't know if I answered
Yeah,
your
for
question.
sure.
I talked a lot, but I don't know if I
Well,
really answered
we
it.
we've gone through, like, here's what you should do if you are probably not gonna hit your numbers, but you're in a sales leadership role.
Yeah.
Say you're coming in, you're looking good. You're gonna either hit
Yeah.
or crush this thing. What do you do so you're not sandbagging this year or you're not fucking up next year? What do
Yeah.
you do for
Yeah.
a strong continuation in the following year?
People are going to love or hate this answer. I'm going to look at my comp plan, probably. I'm going to probably look at my damn comp plan. What are you saying you want me to do, company?
Mhm.
Like, are you saying you want all the revenue this year and I'm going to make more money? Or are you saying I'm better off not? Now, the next year problem is an interesting one. And, this is sort of like I'm revealing how the magic trick gets done. And then the magicians hate this person. But, I think as a sales leader, I do have to keep my eye on both years, both quarters or both years, right? Most of the time at the companies I worked for, it was quarter to quarter. And that's where I had my focus. How are we doing this year? And what does my comp plan say? You're going to know what you think is going to happen next year if you're doing a good enough job. You know what's coming. You're looking ahead. You see what the pipeline looks like. And, this is tricky. If I go sit down with my leadership and say, hey, I think we're going to not do great next year, and they think I'm sandbagging, right? That's not good. And if you certainly don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. Some companies are just straight locked into guidance if they're public, or they have a board, and obviously don't do anything that is going to be crazy there. But most of the sales leaders I know have a good dialogue and should have a good dialogue with their board or with their CEO. They're looking for that guidance from you, but you better be on it, and you better be now. And Chelsey, when someone's bullshitting you, when someone's like sandbagging. We all know it. Don't do it. I never did it that badly. Anything obvious is stupid. And, look, we don't know what's going to happen. Take the revenue off the table. So in this moment, I would say take the damn revenue off the table if you think you can get it, and work like hell to negotiate for next year, because I am constantly seeing projects getting delayed, defunded, reshuffled. And so if you think you're going to sandbag right now and it's going to come in next quarter, you're playing a dangerous game.
Yeah.
In my mind, that's what I'm seeing when I talk to people. Some people may hate that answer, right?
Oh,
But that's just what I would probably be thinking right now. If I think, and again, like I said earlier, just have a line of sight to why you're saying this. Have a reason why you're saying you think it, have the math available, and know who you're talking to. So I've worked for people that were a little more expressive, a little more worked from the gut. And I've talked to people that had no emotions and were just all numbers. And the conversation I would have with my CFO would be very different than it would with a very charismatic, sort of trust your gut entrepreneurial CEO. And I need to be able to move across those conversations differently and speak to those two people differently, even in the same meeting with different language.
mm,
So as we go into that conversation, I'd want to be super careful about or super intentional about how I present what I present, but I'm not going to go in there and fucking wing it, because that's a great way to get punched right in the mouth. And so, which, maybe I've done before, but it doesn't taste good.
you'll make a practice of it.
No, I try. I mean, mom said I had a face for radio, but I don't need to make it look worse, right?
If you're hitting your goals this year and you have aggressive goals next year that you already know about, what is hiring versus you can get way more sales if we just use AI looking like in the sales world these days?
Right. Yeah. So it's funny because I do my own outreach for clients as well. And I use AI tools, I use AI platforms, and I use AI to create messaging. So there's this notion of efficiency, and then there's this notion of more, right? So go get an extra 10% out of your team versus we need to grow 40%. And if I know my industry is growing at 40% and I'm going to my board or my leadership and saying I can only grow 5% next year, there's going to be a lot of damn questions about me and my job. The converse is the same. If my industry is shrinking or growing 5% and I'm saying I can go do 40, 50%, people are going to think I'm tripping on something. So, or they're going to want to know why. In either case, great board and executives are going to want to know why either way. Why do you think you can do that either way or can't do that? So context is important in your industry around like, what is the industry growing or shrinking? What do I think I can do as a result? If you're saying I can't do it, but your competitors are, you better know exactly why you're saying you can't. Anyway, so that I forgot to add that. Hopefully they can use that. So the question you asked me, though, was about using AI to get better at selling and the notion of efficiency of current team versus growth revenue target. There's always more blood that can be squeezed out of a stone for sure. I'm finding on the sales side, the AI tools that are out there are great for identifying a certain amount of personalization for outreach or helping me understand what the situation my customer is in when I'm doing sales outreach. What are the typical problems they're facing, right? So using AI for certain tools like that, for certain tasks like that is great. There's a lot of really interesting predictive stuff around when is a company or a person getting ready to make a change in a vendor based on how long average contracts are and when they're likely to come up. So I find the intelligence gathering piece of it really beneficial, but that may be because I tended to do outreach in consultative businesses. So I was not just trying to say, are you buying, are you buying, are you buying? I have a widget, do you want it? It was more about making some sort of a change in someone's business. So that's interesting, identifying what and wording what some of the problems are for me in my outreach. In this moment, the thing that I'm finding the most success with right now for using AI and using is helping me understand who's in my network, what are they doing, and what do I have in common. The people in my network are responding. The people I don't know it's getting harder and harder to reach them. And that poses a problem for sales. My theory is that LinkedIn's becoming the Facebook of business now, right? So you're talking to your friends out there, people, Chelsey's cool. She's got a really neat looking gold frame office. Let's go talk to her. She's rad. Like Steve just tells it like it is, and he's not going to waste my time. Like let's go talk to him. So there's this social notion of people get to see what you're doing before you're doing it. And I'm trying to move all in on doing that kind of marketing online because the emailing isn't working. The cold call's working if you can get people and they don't tell you to go fuck yourself for calling their cell phone. But again, depends on who your buyer is. Certain buyers don't want it. Certain buyers are not answering the call. So you asked me, so that's this sort of like AI side of the question. Then there's the notion around, wait a minute, is that going to get me a 40% growth next year? When I led teams, oftentimes I would plan for a certain amount of efficiency from my rep and my team based on their quota. And I would sometimes overassign some quota to them. So if they had to do 1 million, I might give them 1.2 million, or I might give them, some number larger and spread out a little more quota than I needed to sell so that I knew not everybody was going to hit 100%. Mm-hmm. Making large changes for like that quickly is difficult. So there comes a time where you've got to understand, I need to add a resource. Because there's also a misnomer that if I got to go sell $10 million next year, I'm going to go hire 10 people or 10 million more, right? If my delta next year is 10 million, I'm going to go hire 10 people, give them $1 million and boom. Well, the problem with that is they're not all coming on board at the same time, right? Throughout that year, they're not all right. So the game that's being played right now, I think is, yes, there is things we can do for efficiencies in AI around messaging, around who we outreach, around knowing about it, about who to call when and what to say to them. I still believe that people buy from people they know and like. My first sales manager, Ron Henderson, said that to me in my first job 700 years ago. I think someone else tried to steal credit for it, but Ron was the man and still is. And there's something there that I think is really fucking hard to replace. I'm not talking about like, small purchases. I'm talking about B2B sales and software. I have always held the belief that I got to call up, I got to get a conversation with you. That conversation better be me adding some value. So I'm going to go use AI to figure out what your challenge is and what my value could be on my own company. I'd use AI to figure out like, what is it that people think I'm good at? What do they think Steve Levitt's good at? They can go to, it's shocking. I can use AI as a therapist. It's incredible. And I got to know myself. I got to know my customer before I approach them so that I add value. And then I go in and I really make sure I understand I'm doing good discovery. The first call, the discovery piece of a call is so important to me. And I think deals are won there. I really believe that with all my being. And if I show up and do good discovery and I know what your challenges are and I'm leading you to the problem, I stand a better chance. And to me, that's about improving efficiency of the team I have versus just going and getting more. And I'm going to try and make them, well, great. If you do 10 meetings a week, go do 15 and you're going to get a 50%. Is your quality there? Is your quality going to suffer? So keeping quality of the sales process is important. But I mean, Chelsey, you have a business. How many emails a day do you get that says like, need more clients? You know, they're obviously bulk shitty emails that don't fucking know what you do, don't know what your problem is, don't give a shit. They just want a meeting for you to buy their $18 subscription a month. And
They
it's
wanna move
garbage.
my freight. A lot of them wanna move my goods. I'm like, "What? Sure,
Yeah, yeah.
pick it up
That's
here."
right. Okay. Yeah. Come over because I got a lot of crap in the closets in the house. I got to get out of the attic. Come move my freight, please. See, now I'm going to go get a bunch of fucking spam emails about moving freight and
Yeah,
movers.
sorry,
Right?
man.
And it's all right. No, it's all good. But that's the thing, right? That's the thing is like everyone's using they're weaponizing AI to go like Steve said, freight. Oh, let's go send him 10 billion emails. Dude, chill. Please fucking chill. I know I'm from LA, but like, we're weaponizing it and I don't think it's making things better.
Yeah, there's a lot of marketing folks that are doing good marketing, and they're leveraging AI to
Yeah.
make their marketing good, but they're just like, "Oh, this fucking crap, these crap posts everyone's putting, it's clogging everything. There's just so much noise of crap out there." Like,
Yeah.
so if somebody calls me, I will pick up. I'm a weirdo.
Will you really? Will
Yeah,
you really?
I will
If you don't know
answer.
them?
If they call, like, twice in a row, I know that it's a salesperson because that's what I used to do. But if I pick
Yeah.
up and it's a salesperson, I'll be polite to them because I don't wanna say "F you." I'll tell them why I'm not a fit. I'll walk them if they're doing a good job, I'll say, "That's a great question," and, like, coach
Well,
them on their
Chelsea,
cold
hold
call.
on. Hold on. You won't say F you to somebody you don't know, but you said it to me multiple times. I'm a little hurt here. I'm a little upset about
I'm
this.
not there
Like,
yet.
I'm just, I'm teasing, obviously, but I like the karmic nature of you taking sales calls. And I get it. I relate to that. You got to help. I've had sales calls where I said, don't ask me that question. Ask me a better question. Right. And they'll be like, what? I'm like, that was the dumbest question you could have asked me. You should know that. Go look at my LinkedIn. But you're right. We're all getting hit by this garbage. Hiring managers are getting hit by, you know, resumes that are AI'd perfectly to the job description. And that's challenging. You know, if we're going to use it, let's just make sure actually know what it says and it makes sense because, maybe I'll get the job, but then I'm going to go do the same thing over again in 6, 8 months. And, full disclosure, if you go look on my website, you'll see some of the worst AI artwork ever for my blog posts. It's horrible because I used it earlier. It's still out there. It still gets little traffic, but you know, what I'm seeing making sense is what you're doing here. I'm a big believer in saying, let me go give you the value that I know. If you think you can go replicate that on your own, good luck. Maybe you will. It's all good, but this is what I stand for. This is who I am. And when I put myself out there and you see what I'm talking about and you see what I suggest you do, like showing up on a podcast or running a podcast to help people, and people are going to look at this and react to it and say, Chelsey's a dork. I never want to hear from her again. Steve's a jerk. He's a dick. I don't want to talk to him again. Those people are wrong, first of all. But second of all, like, okay, cool. Like, but there's definitely people
Embrace
out
the
there.
cringe.
Definitely people out there that are going to be like, yeah, she's rad. Let me go talk to her. He's rad. He's going to tell me what I need to hear.
Yeah.
and not come with some bullshit.
So when you're
So,
for
uh,
a looking for a new sales leader, is
mm,
their personal brand important to you? Like, the things that they're saying on the internet and the things that are beyond their resume?
of course there is. It's funny. I have clients that have said no to candidates I've presented because of their LinkedIn picture only. I have clients that look at a background, and then I have clients that look at posts and read stuff. I try to do as much of it as I can. And there's another great way for AI to come in and help pull that together, right? Like that's a great way to thing we use to figure out what is the universe of stuff shit I can pull on a candidate. What's a red flag? What's a green flag? In fact, I also have note takers that enter my meetings and help me assess red flags in their language, how they talk about specific solutions. So yes on the social posts, you want the basics are, to look for things that are terrible that they're saying or dumb that they're saying. I just also think that you can't fully figure it out until you talk to them. And it is fucking hard to hire salespeople, man. I am so good at convincing myself of a story, convincing other people the same story, and it's not really, it's bullshit. I'm delusional and I need to be locked up. And many salespeople, I love sales. I love salespeople, but we are good at that. We are good at telling a story. And so the good ones are in my mind. So how do I really know? There's really only one or two ways to understand that, right? And it's to have a conversation. It's to see some of your work. It's to there's a million articles about behavioral interviewing and how do I hire a salesperson. The thing that most companies and most hiring managers don't get right is they don't do it consistently. And I force my clients every time before I go to market with a candidate. This is the free advice section of the show. Finally, 45 minutes in, like, right. When I engage with a company to hire a salesperson, we force two things. I force a lot of time up front getting super fucking clear about what are the four things that we must have and even some what we must not have. And those are used. And if anybody reaches out to me and sees this, they want my questions around hiring salespeople, I'll send them to you. You can come and talk to me, whatever. I'll give you some time. But you got to mention Chelsey. Otherwise, no game. No
Say
deal.
chisel for rizzle, otherwise he
Chisel for
doesn't.
Rizzle.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
code word.
Okay. Chisel for Rizzle. Okay. Got it. So promo code Chisel for Rizzle. Hashtag. So anyway, what was I saying?
First of all, Tim said that was never gonna stick, and I told him, "Someday we're gonna make this stick." So,
It'll
thank
stick.
you for
It'll
making
stick.
fetch happen.
Tim's right. Tim's right. To me, like we just want, okay, go hire a salesperson. Okay, well, but like no one's stopping to like what's important in the job. So I
Mhm.
force them into four things. We grade, we ask not just like, are you good at talking to people? Not that kind of question, but like behavioral questions, free information about everywhere about behavioral questions that you can ask in interviews and scenarios that you don't need my advice from. You can Google search that. But there's two really big flags that I use as a recruiter and I used as a hiring manager. The more I talk to you, do I get more excited about you? Do I'm like, wow, okay, this is great. My second conversation was better than my first. It's better than is it on a trajectory of like, I really like talking to this person, right? And the second one I use as a recruiter is, would I want this person on my team? I don't present anybody that I would not hire myself. But that comes from my substandard hiring practices. No, it comes from my sub layer of, okay, well, what makes someone I want to work with?
Mhm.
And to me, that's about, do I think they're being honest in a conversation? Are they saying, I don't know? Are they saying, I've never done that? Are they saying, are they excited? Are they, and when I ask them a question, do they give me, and I ask questions about behavioral, like, tell me about a time where you really didn't get along with a customer and you had to sell them and you did it anyway. How'd you handle it? And I know when I'm being bullshitted too. And that seems to be pressure people are under right now to just bullshit and get the job because some people are desperate. And you have to ask everybody you talk to the same questions when you're evaluating them and scoring them. And then, so I go through a process of developing these criteria for hiring. I used it years ago when I was a hiring manager, and I can use it now as a recruiter. And then I give you a score. And I do it the same way for everyone we talk to, the same question. And that I actually can use AI to figure out, well, how do these conversations go? I want AI to grade it. So I'll give it 1 to 5 grade on everybody I talk to about each of the criteria. But I also use AI to like more consistently grade it.
Uh-huh.
And that to me is what I would, and then I do a calibration exercise where I'll show profiles of people I haven't talked to my client. And it's a little bit of a feel here of like, you said you wanted all the shit. This person has that shit. Well, I don't like, they're terrible. Why are they terrible? So we do a calibration exercise where we show profiles and okay, no, we talk about what I like and what I don't like about that kind of person. And then they come back and they say, okay, no, I want more of this, less of this. Then I show more profiles and I say, okay, great. Now we're going out to market. And now we're going to do this. It is so hard to go do this as a sales hiring manager because you have the pressures of the quota and everything else. And you have your internal process, which you must follow. You have your HR business partners, which are so important in a business. So that's the way I would approach hiring, to answer your question, and be consistent about the questions you ask. It's tricky. It's tricky.
For sales, if you're inconsistent with what you're asking a prospect in discovery, right? You might just be like, oh, they said it was great. They loved it. And you skip past these 3 questions you ask everybody else. Then you're wondering why you're getting fucking ghosted
Yeah.
6 months later. If you get really excited about a candidate and you're interviewing them, it's so easy to just be like, they were great, da 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 da. And then you miss the red flags or you miss these other things because you don't ask those fucking questions. Sorry, I'm swearing so much today.
It's fucking okay.
Okay.
We are using technical sales terms in
This
this
is
conversation. You are 100% right, Chelsey, because what happens? You get all like crazy.
Happy
Yeah, like, oh my God, this person's amazing. I fall in love with my idea of what I think I need. I fall in love with the person, not literally. Like, don't do that. Like, well, I don't know, whatever. Anyway, so, I don't, like they say or do 1 or 2 things. I do look for, there are times where I'm like, hey, they said something so insightful to a question that was actually contextually relevant, that made sense to me based on my experience. And I really liked them as a candidate, right? That I will tend to kind of grade them higher. But that's why, right, what you're talking about is taking a shortcut. You take a shortcut in the sales process, you're going to get burned every fucking time. You forget to ask the question, that's going to be the thing that they want to change in the contract. And everyone's going to be like, why didn't you know this?
We told you it was going to be 2 years from now.
Right. Or I told you I can only work on Wednesdays.
Yeah.
Like what? So the things that are non-negotiables for your company, you got to know. You got to know. And same for the salespeople. And ask, even if it feels mundane, just ask the question. You're going to get an answer. But to me, the more I spend time with a candidate, it just becomes apparent. I've had candidates that were great on that first interview. Slow to hire, quick to fire is the adage, right? And no one wants to be slow to hire. There are companies with a lot of pressure to deploy quota, get butts in seats. And I've lived that experience where I just filled seats with people that had a pulse, thought I can train them, and didn't have the team to train them. And it was a disaster. And we wondered why they weren't producing 6 months, 8 months later. So I think the better question is, how do I figure out if someone's not working? How do I figure out whether they're really, really good and they just had a bad run at a place, or whether they've been chronically unemployed or chronically not good at what they do? That's starting to be the trickiest thing we're trying to figure out for people. Everyone's got shorter stays at companies now. Really honing in on understanding why someone left is important. And if they have a different type of background that you are looking for. And then the last thing is, like, most companies forget, like, again, what do I owe my salesperson? So if I'm running a shop where it is really like I'm throwing rocks at you while you're trying to sell as an organization, and I'm taxing you with TPS. I love the movie Office Space, like, right? The TPS report. You know, if I'm taxing you
Yeah.
with TPS reports and it's carving out 30% of your sales time, fuck me. I suck. Don't work for me. That is horrible. Or be nicer and try and change it and say, hey, I could use it. Right? Like, what am I responsible for here on my team? I'm trying to collect all this data to use to help coach you. Am I getting draconian about how much and how often I collect? That you are not doing your job. There's gotta be a self-awareness. And if I'm running a shop where I'm just churning through salespeople too frequently, take a look at that too.
Yeah.
You
Look
know,
inward.
look inward. Yeah, I know you love these little fucking tidbits and bullshit analogies I give, but right. I've been to all the sales trainings and all the leadership trainings, so like these dumb analogies stick. But it's, when I point a finger, there's 3 pointing back at myself. So I should always, right? Like, that's what you're talking about. And be careful about which finger you point, Chelsey, because I know which finger you like to give people. The thumbs up.
Thumbs up. Peace sign. The trigger
Yes.
finger. Was
The
that what I
trigger
did there?
finger. Exactly.
So if we were going to leave folks who've listened, first of all, if you're being forced to do anything as a sales leader that you don't think aligns with you, take the
Eat
clip.
shit and keep doing it. Keep your job. Oh, sorry. No, that's not.
Like if someone's forcing you to do TPS reports for your team, take the clip from this and send it to who's ever asking you to do it. Just
But
use
like
Steve.
anonymize
Just
it so I don't get the phone call and the CEO stuff want to
say
work with
it's
me.
Steve's fault.
Steve said, God.
So if
It's
we're
all in how you approach it. It's all, or hire me and I'll help convince your team why they shouldn't do it.
It is the easier and the more fun of the options out there, just saying. I've been
Yeah.
through it. If
Thank
you
you.
were to leave sales leaders with one nugget as they head into planning for next year,
Yeah.
what would you leave them with?
Update your resume. All me. No, if I were to leave sales leaders with one thing going into next year, what would it be? Okay. So if I'm a company looking to hire a sales leader for next year or grow my sales team, I would just please get super fucking clear about exactly what makes your top people successful and talk to the frontline manager. Most great HR business partners do this. Most hiring managers have a dialogue with their HR partners, and that when it works well there, it's good, right? Do that because no one can afford to make a mistake right now. So I would say if I'm a CEO, I am making sure my HR business partners are talking with my sales managers and vice versa. And we are all on the same page about what we want and what we need. Right. And I work more so with like mid-sized companies. So, that's a lot easier to do in a mid-sized company than a big Fortune 100 or 500.
Mhm.
But it's a non-negotiable for me as a sales leader. I have to make sure I know that what they're giving me is good and what I expect is known, and they're filtering for it as well. So know what's successful, know what the traits are, and hire to those filters and those criteria, and do the homework to have the questions to really get to the bottom of it. If I were a sales manager, what advice would I want? Everyone's scared. Everyone's tired. Everyone's scared. Half the job of a sales manager is being a little bit of a psychologist. And I think the great ones do. But I'm not saying change diapers and give out pacifiers, right? And I don't know that I've done my best work for the sales managers. Like, I don't give a fuck, sell more, get the fuck out of my office, make more calls, work harder, drink more protein powder and put on your headset, right? Like that's swing your golf club around the office. I think a lot of that's just bullshit. And at least in professional sales, I got to find a way to make sure that I understand the context for what I'm being asked to do as a leader next year and make sure I still have my team with me. I better know where people are at, do everything I can to make it super clear about what's expected, what success looks like, and know when you're in trouble so that not everybody's panicking all the time. And
Mhm.
people are out there panicking. They're doing unnatural things to get deals done that is not healthy for business. But that's if you want to do it right. I mean, there's a lot of people that want to put lipstick on the pig and just go sell it right now. And that's fun too. People make money. But if you're really a sales leader out there trying to like fucking get it right for your team, stop thinking about your own bullshit and your own problem. Figure out what's going on with your team. Figure out what's going on with, the executive team, because I guarantee you the answer is not just in your mind. It's in matching those contexts and sharing enough information. People understand exactly what they need to do and what's expected and when they're going to be rewarded and when they're going to be in trouble, and measure and monitor that consistently every fucking week. And take yourself out of the equation. You have to take your own ego out of the equation, because it's not about you as a sales leader. It's about, you can't succeed alone without your team.
Mhm.
So help them. Go help them. Go help them figure it out. Make sure that you carry their concerns upward and carry the expectations back to the team, or front to back, however you want to think of your organization. Be clear, get better at listening and communicating, and, have a plan. Make sure you have a plan, because if you don't communicate what's going on, if you don't communicate the context, the vision, what is happening, your team will fill in the information. And when people fill in information, it's rarely rainbows and puppy dogs and rainbow sprinkles. It's usually like chaos, destruction, end times, I'm dead, right? So make sure to give your team enough information to know what and why, so they're not coming up with a story about how horrible things are going to be. But the reality is, I'm not trying to bury my head in it. There's some bad shit going on out there. It's not easy for everybody. So I just know how to lead from that perspective. And I would encourage people to be doing that, whether it's good or whether you guys are really going through it. And have your resume updated.
You're looking for a change.
Yes.
Reach out to Steve.
Yeah, sure. Well, I need people hiring more than I need candidates, but please drop me a note.
So we'll add all of Steve's contact info below so you can check him out. And we're going to leave as many squares in as we can as possible.
Uh-oh. You're awesome. What you're doing here is amazing. You're the best. You're the best.
Thanks, Steve. Don't make me cry.
I love seeing what you're doing. I am super, super honored that you invited me on here. So thanks for having me. Hoping there was a little value for you.
Thank you, Steve. We'll talk to you soon.